Our Brent Martineau, former Jags player Austen Lane, Kasey Kuhrts here on a Friday. We've got Florida, Georgia in town. Jags go to Seattle, and we have Game 3 of the World Series tonight as well. Plus, Jacksonville Icemen season starts, well, it actually started last week with a win on the road again tonight and tomorrow, then home next Saturday. And right now we're joined by a guy that can talk a lot of those topics. It's former JU baseball player, former Inglewood Ram, former New York Met, and others, Washington Nationals. I'll get all your favorite teams in there, folks, if you want. Colorado Rockies. It is Daniel Murphy joins us on the show. Daniel, how you doing, man?
Doing good, Brent. Thanks for having me. Hey, thanks for having me, fellas.
Yeah, good to have you. And, boy, you can talk about a lot of different things. Game 3 of the World Series. Let's begin there. Houston, Atlanta, storylines galore. Boy, they can really hit both of them. What do you like about this series so far?
I'd say it's just it surprises me, but each year the intensity at which the games are played with, especially as you get when there's only one game now, so each pitch is so vital. So I forget how intense it is to watch. And so, like you said, both teams can really hit. We saw runs last game, and it's a good split for Atlanta, but you're wondering, how much do they feel like they came out of there and, they didn't leave with Charlie Morton, who you were expecting to see twice and possibly more because he's done it before when he was with Houston. So, it'd be very exciting this evening. Atlanta, I'm certain, is buzzing right now. Very exciting to see.
Hey, we've talked about a guy like Freddie Freeman, and Austen played with guys like this in the NFL. I think just everybody respects him. And everybody loves him. What do you know about Freeman? And is that the thought across like all Major League Baseball teams and locker rooms? It feels like, Daniel, every time somebody gets to first base, they're having like a cup of coffee with Freddie Freeman.
Well, the one of the great things about Freddie, which is some of the higher praise I feel like I could give someone, is that he's always the same person, if that makes sense. It's like he's never too up, he's never too down, and you see when he's frustrated and he's not feeling well, like when he started the NLCS and he had struck out more than we're used to seeing. And obviously he's wearing that a bit because he's taking a lot of responsibility on his shoulders. But at the same time, he's still going to show up on defense. He still brings this energy about him. And you see that at first base because I like to talk a lot too. So Freddie and I would have quite a bit of conversations. And anytime you're talking to Freddie as an opposing team, you're ecstatic because, you got to first base, and it can be hard to get to first base. So you like to have a little mini party over there, and he lets you have one.
Daniel, when you talk about the Houston Astros, they're obviously a very polarizing team. If you live in Houston, you probably love them. Anywhere else, you probably despise them. To me, it reminds me of, playing for the Jaguars and watching the Patriots win Super Bowl after Super Bowl. And it got to the point when Spygate came out where it was like, there's no way that I can actually support and cheer for the Patriots team because, of all the stuff that kind of came with that organization. Do you kind of feel like that too, being a former baseball player where, are you a little just kind of on edge if Houston was going to win this series?
I actually have found myself cheering for Houston and Dusty. When I watch a game as a neutral, I don't know which direction I'm going to go. And I wouldn't say I'm cheering super hard, but I do find myself when I see Dusty, and I saw them winning the other day, and he's in the dugout. And to know Dusty is to know that he moves around all over the place. So, he'll be in one spot, one place, another spot, another inning. And so I remember him doing that in D.C., and so to see him doing it, I have found myself cheering for him. And, when it comes to Houston, it's just something that they're going to have to carry. And I try to think of it in the sense that I'm certainly capable of doing something like that. My hope is that I wouldn't do something like that, but in the sense that they have to carry that with them, if that makes sense. And so now when they get questioned, rightfully or not rightfully, because of some of the choices they've made, they're questioned about whether or not it's on the up and up. And I don't really look at it that way, but also I think I use it maybe as a cautionary tale that don't go thinking I'm above doing something like that because it's something you have to carry with you the rest of your life and your career.
Daniel, you mentioned your time in Washington, and I always think this is just a fascinating part of baseball where you were with the Mets for a long time. You had some great moments, including in the playoffs. You leave New York and go to Washington. You come back to New York and you get a standing ovation. In that moment, is it something you really think about, or after it's over you think, wow, that was pretty cool?
Well, the Mets were super gracious in our first trip back, our family with the Nats, and that they did a tribute on the board, which wasn't something that I, by any stretch of the imagination, thought I deserved. I was very grateful that they chose to do that. And so after that, I got a bit of a standing ovation there just before the game. And then my first at bat, I got a nice applause. And I wasn't expecting it. I appreciate it. And then after that, they booed me, as well they should, because it was a division rival. And also I started swinging the bat pretty well against them, too. So there are kind of two reasons to boo us. Is we were playing well against them, and I was playing well as well. So it was going there and playing and going to the visiting locker room was always so strange. To go in the home locker room for 7 years, and then my wife and I built such great relationships in New York. It was always strange to go into the visiting locker room. And so those experiences there were, I don't know, it was always, my nervous system felt really activated, if that makes sense. Like senses were more heightened when we went back to Queens, even as a Rocky, even when I went back as a Rocky.
That makes a lot of sense. Daniel Murphy, a hometown guy with us here on Action Sports Shacks on ESPN690, of course, a hero of the 2015 playoffs, NLCS MVP. I just love the fact that we got a local guy win NLCS MVP, Howie Kendrick, his success recently. We're going to talk about the Icemen in a moment, too, and what you're doing now here in Jacksonville. But one more baseball thought. You just saw Kiki Hernandez, Alvarez for Houston, Rosario, what he's doing in the postseason. Does it take – I mean, those guys are on fire, man, and a different kind of on fire that you were back in 2015. Do you still feel some of that? Do you kind of sense what those guys were feeling? Does it look like a beach ball? I mean, how do you explain it some 6-7 years later, what happened in that postseason for you?
Well, the way I would explain it for me is, so we worked so hard and diligently to basically get yourself in the best position for like my swing and physically, and that in the hopes that when the competition starts, I can go out there and smile and compete like my 7-year-old. And also at the same time, when my body and my eyes say, hey, I want to do this, it's doing it. So the way I would equate it is, as a hitter, you want to make good decisions. All right, but it's difficult to make good decisions because the pitchers are throwing the ball like 1,000 miles an hour at you, and they're moving it in different directions, and they're changing the shape of it. So when you feel good about your body and your swing, you buy yourself time and space. Well, once you buy yourself that time and space, you now are making better decisions. And then there's a second bite to it a little bit. A second bullet point is now that you make hopefully good decisions, then you start, your swing feels good, and you start centering you hope, well, not everyone, but a lot of those decisions that you make at the plate. It's like, that looks like a good pitch to hit. I'm going to swing as hard as I can, and then you center it. It's like, wait a second. I think I might feel pretty good right now. And it goes from, okay, I may be feeling good to like, okay, I have this confidence that when my eyes say yes, my body's going to respond accordingly, and I can just go and express myself out during the game.
That's
that's
unbelievable.
kind of how I would describe it.
I wish we could all feel it at one time in our life. I wish we could all feel it.
We've all done it. I mean, you've done it before on the radio or on TV where you've just gotten in this moment. Well, when things have slowed down enough that you could just express yourself, like it happens.
No, Brent, he makes a great point, though, because, I mean, I'm an MMA fighter, and, like, I know what he's talking about in terms of if you see a punch coming, can you counter that punch and throw something of your own because you have a split second to do it. So I definitely see where he's coming from. Very cool.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense.
From MMA, I'm wondering how much is too, because you're doing this dance with someone that you're fighting with, and you're trying to find the rhythm of the competition. And so in those moments when things slow down and your senses what we get to see right now in the postseason is senses are so heightened because you're right here, almost there to attain the goal at which you started. And so it's like senses are so heightened, it matters so much that we see just the best possible competition. And so when guys get locked in right there, well, you see them do kind of otherworldly things like Eddie Rosario and Kike were doing, and Eddie's doing right now.
Brent, I think we need to get Daniel Murphy in some kind of like celebrity boxing event or something, because this guy's talking like he knows what he's doing.
So I could get beat up? No, I won't see the punch coming. I'll get mollywopped right in the kisser.
I'm just saying, from the mental aspect, you're all set, man. I can show you how to throw a punch. You're going to be fine.
Hey, have you ever seen a benches clearing brawl? We know what those benches clearing brawls look like in baseball. They're just a whole lot of pushing.
That's it. You can yell. Well, I actually had one in Colorado against the Mets where I went yelling and screaming. And, like, I wasn't going to do anything. And one time, John Lackey, I was yelling from the dugout, and he was like, he looked at me and goes, "You're not going to do crap." And I was like, he's absolutely right. I'm not going to do a thing. And so I shut my mouth.
Daniel Murphy with us. All right, let's wrap up with the Icemen because part owner of the Icemen. We love the Icemen here on Action Sports Jacks on ESPN690. Great win last week. Got a couple of road games. There's a lot of momentum. We talked to Bob Orablo and Andy Kaufman and those guys, and so much momentum for the Icemen. How much fun are you having being a part of it? How much fun do you think this season will be, especially with the All-Star game coming in January?
Well, I think you said it. You know, the All-Star game coming January 16th and 17th here is something that's – I think it's going to be exciting for me to see and experience because we have, you know, some new infrastructure here that we're going to be able to help host it with like a new restaurant. And also when the weather turns just cold enough here and to go down there and watch them, it's a good club and it's a really good product and it's very entertaining. And I only got a chance to make it down once last year. I got a chance to go see Tim at Faith Night, and we didn't make it down quite as a family because of COVID. But to be able to watch, and, you know, we were in it there to the end, and actually Andy had texted me hoping for a fast start, which appears we got, you know, to start this season. And, you know, excited for the team to come home and start competing as well, too, here. And I will say as well, the crowds have been awesome, you know, and speaking with and seeing the numbers and just, you know, growing up here, hockey wasn't such a big deal. I'm from Jacksonville, and to see the city respond so favorably and with such excitement to hockey, because I didn't grow up with hockey, but when I see it live, and I got to go and see the Rangers, which is our affiliate when I was in New York with the Mets, it's so much fun to watch live. I didn't realize it until I got to experience it myself.
Well, and Daniel, and what does it mean to you as well? Because, you know, obviously when they add on the igloo and everything here, that it's going to be hockey for the youth as well. Like, you're going to start getting kids involved in this great game. And, you know, having come from Wisconsin, I mean, I was all about the sport of hockey. And you get the sense here in Jacksonville that people are excited about it. But if you're a kid, you know, it may be hard to go and play in an organized league or something like that. So what does it mean to you to try to, you know, build and vamp up this, you know, the youth here in Jacksonville playing the great sport of hockey?
Well, I think that's a great point, and I think back to the good fortune I had with my dad, and he would just throw me baseballs, and I would just hit them. And so, well, here in Florida, the weather is perfect for that. And as you allude to, the igloo that we have here, I'm excited about the opportunity that's going to present those kids here in the area that want to play hockey. Like, here's an opportunity. You take it as far or as short as however you want. If you want to take it and learn how to skate, or you want to go and try to get to the NHL. The beauty of sports is it's going to teach us and prepare us for life. Like, if you want to get better at something, do it. And so the cool thing about the igloo and what Andy Kaufman and, you know, Icemen we've been able to do here is, like, here's an opportunity. Use it as you see fit. And that's fun to be a part of, especially being local.
Daniel, as a fan's perspective of the Icemen, me and my fiance go all the time, and it's awesome. So we really appreciate what the Icemen have done for Jacksonville. But for you, was being in the ownership and that side of sports something you were extremely interested in when you played, or did the opportunity just present itself and you said, why not?
It wasn't something I had thought about a ton while I was playing. I would say it was probably the allure of the Icemen was more the local aspect of it than it was my eagerness to be an owner of to have ownership in it. But it's worked out. I've enjoyed both aspects of it. That the fact that it is local, and, you know, to be able to kind of see how a business is run. Because I haven't been doing that for 15 years. Like, I've been trying to hit baseballs, and then I couldn't do that anymore. So now I'm just kind of dabbling my fingers in all sorts of stuff. I got a chance to go back to JU and take a couple classes in the spring, which was a ton of fun. And so I'm able to, Andy, Kaufman allows me to, you know, go and come as I please a bit. So he's been very gracious with me when it comes to the Icemen ownership and our family.
Well, I love that you're still tied into the community here and still living here, and we love to celebrate our local athletes. Daniel Murphy, thanks for joining us ahead of Game 3 of the World Series and obviously the Iceman season getting underway. Hope the family's well and have a good Halloween weekend.
And that engaged. So is that Kasey? When are you getting married?
I'm getting married. Ooh.
Kasey, Kasey, this is kind of a
this is important, yeah.
An off-the-brain question here you should be answering now.
Well, it's a great question that you ask. My fiance actually picked up her dress today And that
Usually
would,
how it works. Yep.
yeah, and I wasn't allowed to go, obviously, but 128 days on the dot.
There you go.
Yeah, so
Awesome.
But you don't know the date, do you?
Hey, 128 days.
Which would be what, Kasey?
Daniel, I'm not going to lie to you. I wasn't involved a lot in the planning. I just said, do what you got to do.
You sound like
show
you're
up.
kind of on the bingo right now, Case, is what it sounds like right now. Like it's just, but hey, I was all that to say, congratulations. I hope she's flying her engagement ring around proudly the city, and we'll have a ton of fun. And we had a blast at our wedding, my wife and I, Tori.
Well, I can tell you I don't know the wedding date, but I hit a home run with the ring itself. So
And
she's
there it
appreciative
is.
of that, so you're right on that. Thank you, Daniel. I appreciate it.
Awesome.
Thanks, man.
All right, cheers. You guys have a good one. Thanks for having me.